Hello, Knights of the Roll Table. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 0. We're going to talk to the players in Season 6. We're going to find out what characters they are playing and find out a little bit about what's been going on with those characters and what might happen in their future. If you're interested in that kind of behind-the-scenes stuff, please enjoy. If not, in 2 weeks, we will be back with Season 6, Episode 1 to get this adventure started. We'll see you then. Hello, Knights of the Roll Table. We are back for Season 6, and we're doing Session 0 today. We've assembled our cast. This is Zach. I'm going to be Dungeon Master of Season 6. So let's go around and introduce yourself and introduce some of these introductions are a surprise for cast members. So everybody introduce yourself and who you will be playing in the beginning of Season 6.
Hello, this is Chris. I will be playing Gravely, the Ranger / new cleric.
Ooh.
Gravely is back.
Exciting.
I'm Jen, and I will be playing Sarsa, the tiefling cleric.
And Jen, has anything been going on in your life recently?
I birthed a human.
Yay!
Jesus.
We were very relieved when she came out human. That was the goal, and mission accomplished.
Hey, you never know these days.
But
Did
what?
she take the ability score adjustment, or did she take a feat?
I mean, having seen what's in her diapers, I think she took a feat. But no, I'm not gonna lie, she's cute as hell.
Nice, she is. We've seen her on camera and in person. We hung out. We had a picnic the other day.
Her charisma stats are off the charts.
Yeah, you might hear her in the background, so we'll deal with that. Jeff.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff Frank coming to you from the past when this was recorded, and I will be playing XX Bloody Heart, everybody's favorite lovable angsty teenage rogue.
Everybody's favorite Bloody Heart.
This is the season we're gonna get to the bottom of what he's all about.
And Carlos.
Hey, I'm Carlos Guzman, and for this go around, I will be Tiburon, the fighter, and new wizard, as we'll soon find out why.
Whoa.
Spoilers.
Wow. I
Got
love
some
that.
multi-classing excitement going on. I've inspired people. And finally, Matt.
All right, hey folks, this is Matt Messerman. I will be playing a branch from the smallest tree in the forest, aka Branch, the Goblin Druid.
So we
Very
have
good.
all returning characters jumping in. They don't necessarily all know each other, but we'll have to actually think through that. Actually, I think these characters all have met briefly at one point or another, unless it's Sarsa and XX Bloody Heart only like briefly intersected. If they,
I don't think they have much overlap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they were on their way out as XX Bloody Heart came back through the portal in Season 3. But otherwise, there's a little bit of history, at least, between all of these characters. So we're mainly going to be talking about kind of like where each of these characters are and where at this moment that they join together for a mission to be revealed in the episode 1. And just a little bit of like what we might want to encounter in Season 6. So what are you hoping to get out of Season 6? Anything come immediately to mind for anybody?
One of the things that I really enjoyed about last season was the number of challenges and scenarios that we had that weren't just completely like combat focused. And like we were still rolling and exploring and doing things and having these interactions. So like obviously we're still like playing the game, but it wasn't all like turn-based like
Mhm.
I don't know. I enjoyed that it kind of forced some creative problem solving, and I love stuff like that. So thanks,
Cool.
Chris. Yeah, Zach, you got big shoes to fill here.
Yeah. So anything else that comes immediately to mind, either in the things we've done that you enjoy and want to keep doing, or things we haven't done in a while that you want some more of?
Something from last season, and do not take this as a criticism. I think last season was super fun, and we did tons of adventure stuff. But when we initially got the map of the city where the adventure started, because the map was Chris put so much effort into the map and it was so detailed, I actually thought we were going to be spending a lot of time in that city just like doing stuff, going to inns or meeting characters or sneaking around past guards sort of stuff. The season took a completely different direction.
Surprise.
Right
Carlos, what listeners don't know, and that a lot of people do know, is I like to spend a lot of time on things that have very little payoff. So it's just my own OCD of like everything has to be planned.
Chris also opened season 2 with a similarly very detailed map of Emberbrook, which he almost immediately burned down.
Yeah, burned to the ground.
At this point, about that.
At least this city didn't burn down. I mean,
it's still there. We could go back and check.
Wasn't there.
Coach wasn't around. That's true.
At this point, if Chris does show me a map, I'm going to assume, like, don't get attached to it. Don't read it. Don't look at the areas. It's not going to happen. I'll work on a map.
But yeah, I would say don't necessarily give us a map, but give us a nice city to sort of hang out in between combat encounters. It doesn't need to be the same place necessarily, but I miss doing kind of like random city stuff.
Agreed.
Love a city.
Random city stuff. That's
I
Emberbrook happened.
As a DM now, a player, I threw in a lot of hints to the library. There is a library that exists in the world. That it's not the one in the floating city of Falcon Reach, but it's the other one. It's like the Knights Library. And I can look up the name of that in just a second. But I think that would be fun to visit that. It's like, oh, well, that information is at the library. And just interesting, since we're getting to points where things are starting to connect and backstories are starting to like come forth and things are being revealed either organically or sort of hinted at or something like that. I think it'd be fun to explore different ways of finding out things, whether it's like, mind visions or, delving into the past with some sort of, I don't want to say time travel, but like other ways of finding out things from the back, maybe a flashback episode of 300 years ago, or I don't know. I think that would be really fun just to be like, let's play completely different knights from a different bygone era. And we use second edition rules or something like that.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, I'm all in.
Thaco. Let's go.
But no, I mean not the
Get
rules
out your
thing,
slide rules.
but you know what I mean? Zach was just like kind of like I think
you lost me at second edition rules, but yeah.
Right. More about that.
Exploring the history.
Exploring the history of the knights. Because what kind of happened last season unintentionally is that I realized that the knights as of season 1 is sort of an underground thing, but it hasn't always been that way. It used to be a more defined noble organization, and something happened that kind of made it go underground and dark, and a little bit more grassroots. And but before it was these temples of old and these like structures and things like that, and they've sort of had to build it back up from once greatness. So I think there's an interesting past there of like what was it used to be, and like why did it have a falling out and that sort of thing.
I in this season I'd like to see 3 or 4 main character deaths that are permanent. That's just me.
Word.
Let's start icing these guys out. 1 remaining character.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think major sacrifices or permanent scars, so to speak, it would be interesting to deal with, whether it's like I don't know, something that we have to now live with, whether it's deaths or missing things or somebody turns evil or I don't know. I mean, something major consequences.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. I would like to see, just in general, I would like to catch up with knights that we've met and haven't seen in a while. Just find, even if we don't see them in particular, maybe we find out what they did, maybe at the library, just like what's been going on.
Catching up with knights that have been out of touch, maybe like a library, some sort of like library centric knight. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. Knights that live in libraries, are interested in libraries, have magic books.
I just meant to go look it up. I didn't even think of that.
Our librarious season yet.
every
That was season
episode
2.
is going to be in a different library.
That's what the fans want.
More reading in their podcast.
Books on books.
Let's go back to the characters and talk about each of these old friends. So let's start with, we'll go in the order we introduced ourselves. So Chris, you're playing Gravely.
Hello. Yes.
To recap,
yes.
like we met Gravely in episode 1.
Yes.
He got the kill shot on the Fire Lord Charcandris.
Mm-hmm.
And we rejoined him in season 3.
Almost died in season 1 with Charcandris. I barely survived that. But yeah, we did get the kill shot, which is nice.
In season 3, we saw kind of like Gravely stepping into his kind of a leadership role. That was a nice arc.
Yeah.
So I think in timeline of season 6, like I think it's soon after, pretty soon after season 5 with the one shot, in between. So kind of like there hasn't been a big gap of time, but most of these characters we haven't seen recently. So there is a gap of time in kind of the stories of these characters. So what do you feel like maybe Gravely's been up to since we saw him in Popolona, and where kind of space is he at?
Yeah, I think Gravely has done a lot of introspection. He's in a relationship with someone from Popolona, his old co-worker. It's just, it's a good working relationship. They're very casual and not super serious, but just, they're working together, and she's very supportive of him.
What was her name again?
Farah.
Yeah, she's Farah, and she is so the reason he got into, in the one shot, if you haven't listened to it, Gravely started becoming a cleric of the goddess Mistra, who is an kind of like the goddess of arcane magic, because Farah follows Mistra as well. So he was introduced by Farah to a priestess named Tulucia, who kind of made him a junior cleric. So since then, he's kind of amped up some of his clerical abilities, and it's helped him become more in touch with, like, not faith in particularly, but more just like being a supportive person, like being able to take care of people around him. And he's always had a little bit of insecurities. So I think this is, as he learned to become a leader in season 3, and now more of a field leader and commander with the Knights.
He's leading Bible study.
No, not so much that, but he's able to build his confidence, and with the cleric ability, he's like, I'm going to be able to help people out, and I don't want to leave anybody behind, and just, taking on a little bit more of that leadership role with the Knights organization. And so, and Farah's being very supportive, and his home is in Popolona with her, but he's traveling a lot, so he doesn't see her as much.
What kind of cleric is he?
He's a cleric of the arcane domain.
Nice. That's kind of where he's been. What do you kind of like conceptually, story-wise, sort of envision for Gravely? What are kind of Gravely's goal in life? What are kind of like possible places Gravely might end up, from a happy ending to somewhere on the spectrum, from happily ever after to tragic must be avenged fates?
I think because he has always been, ever since the beginning of season 3, when he was sort of found out he was fired from his sort of place of belonging, which is this terrible organization that was a Black Ops Amazon company sort of thing, like, where he sort of delivery system.
It's just Amazon.
So after that, being with the Knights kind of gave him some purpose, and like he was like, oh, I can actually do some good, and he's like had some realization that there's people in the world that not just need to be saved, but also others that need to be stopped. So taking that to heart and finding people that he cares about. So I think his main purpose is to inspire other knights that are up and coming, and like not necessarily recruit, but like people that have been brought up. He's like, I was once like you, and I can help you out, and I'm going to support you if you're in the field, and kind of taking people under his very small wing, so to speak, and but also caring about his friends that he's had. I mean, he has close relationships with a lot of these folks, pretty much everybody that's in the group, probably to a certain extent, maybe not Sarsa as much, but they have met, and I'd say probably since then, Sarsa's been doing a lot of the ferrying and traveling of people with her ship and everything. Probably we'll find out with Jen, but everybody else, like he feels very close knit. Like he only likes working with certain people. I think Gravely's a little bit picky about meeting others. So he's and I think he knows where Soot is. I think he has also kept tabs on where Soot is, because he's the one person that kind of got through to him. So even though he might not volunteer that information, there is that sort of like, I'm going to find out where you are, like kind of thing. That's a little secret that he's keeping to himself. Is he's keeping an eye on Soot, who has a very powerful artifact that could potentially damage lots of things. And I think sort of personally, he is, we haven't found out narratively about his family and
or his last name,
or his real name. So I think he is always kind of looking out for that, like where he came from. Of course, the halflings that raised him, he knows that, but he doesn't know the orcs that abandoned him. He's also looking for a really good cornbread recipe, zucchini cornbread. It's nice. Farah really loves zucchini and he loves cucumber, and he says, well, I think I can find you a really good zucchini cornbread recipe. And so he's been looking out for kind of a fantastic cornbread recipe.
Like zucchini bread that's like cornbread, or zucchini and corn together?
Zucchini and corn in a bread together.
Gross.
Nice.
Could be amazing.
All right. Could be amazing. Gravely would love it.
He's also been trying to challenge himself with getting better at puzzles, like just doing puzzles, because like a lot of the adventures are like, oh, there's puzzles involved. So he's been like doing little like backyard agility tests for himself as a ranger, like how you set up things in the back, and like mental
laid
stuff
up on the ground.
Like, how like you set up an agility course for dogs, and he's very small, so like he's been getting a lot of like little like, I'm gonna leap over this thing and I'm gonna do this thing to kind of like and I'm gonna work in a feat of he has something where he's like a little bit more agile and adept to move around and get through things and that sort of thing.
So Gravely's a CrossFit guy now?
Not so much CrossFit, but he's really into parkour.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, he made his own Ninja Warrior course. That's it.
So that's definitely some things to explore. Does anybody else have kind of like thoughts on things you would like to find out more about with Gravely, or any sort of like threads left unwoven in his past stories?
I just want to see this relationship play out. My whole goal is to turn this podcast into a soap opera. So
lots of Gravely Farah moments.
Speaking of turning the podcast into a soap opera, where did we leave off with Gravely's mortal enemy that we ran into in the season 3 campaign?
Yeah. Bashir was a Drow Ranger. He left off. I think the last time we saw him, Zach, was he was kind of hurt in the ship and a little bit delirious, and they got this was the first time the Knights got one of the Platinum Syndicate coins, because he was like, I'm gonna give it to him, and then like as they went down in the ship, when they came back out, he was gone. So Bashir is still out there. He was kind of a hired mercenary for drop off, yeah. but realized that he was a bad dude, and then ended up leaving and like was kind of giving them some information. But he was also a little bit like drugged up, like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like. So he's still out there. I think Gravely probably is like, if I see you, I don't like you, but he also sort of lightened up on that a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen if we run into him. I have some other there's two other characters from his past that I have that I can send to you. Just, there's the human ranger that worked for Dreadex that kind of showed him the rope. His name is Harrison. And he was kind of like a reluctant, grumpy, basically like Harrison Ford he was kind of like this grumpy, gruff, like, okay, I'm going to show you. And he never really showed any kind of like enthusiasm or smiled at all, but he showed him everything he knows about like being a ranger. And then one day he just vanished, like he just never came back.
Mm.
Oh, did I tell you about Javal Torg?
I don't think so.
So Javal Torg is another Drow ranger, who is basically the one that trained Bashir. So he was another almost like formidable legend in Dreadex, but he was kind of became a almost like an enemy of Dreadex when he left. He always took the most dangerous job in Dreadex, the most dangerous deliveries that would always, would like no one would want to take because they were in really dangerous places of the world. He had one glass eye, and he apparently one day just left Dreadex to start with its rival company, Bloodbox. He would even go so far as to send spies that worked for him to get hired by Dreadex undercover to learn secrets and gain clients. So he left, and now he's apparently working for Bloodbox. But this was a legendary other formidable ranger.
Interesting. So they both have mentors. Bashir's out there. Bloodbox and Dreadex continue their competition, presumably. Maybe edged out by Heaven's Breath. What was the name of the Amazon company? Heaven Sent? What is it called?
Sent.
Yeah, Heaven Sent. Yeah,
Heaven Sent, but it's SENT. Heaven Sent. I don't know. I don't want my fascination with delivery companies and fantasy rooms. it's just kind of
guys. This is what our fans want. They want libraries and delivery services. That's
corporate fantasy deliveries, which would be terribly slow, by the way. Do you want Express? It'll be 5 weeks. Yeah, so I'm going for kind of like if Gravely equals Harry Potter and Harrison is Sirius and Bashir is Draco, then Javal Torg is Snape.
Interesting.
He also had a lot of feelings when he saw Lyra again.
Mm-hmm. Complicated.
He had a great relationship, and he saw Lyra, who he had a big old crush on in season 1, and seeing Lyra with some sort of manservant made him just question a lot of things.
I really need to hear this one shot. Like I feel so out of the loop. Like it feels like maternity leave just became compounded. Is it kind of like seeing your high school crush like all old and washed out?
No, it's seeing your high school crush still attractive and beautiful, but now with somebody else that he doesn't quite trust. And now he's questioning his current relationship.
Oh, whoa. Yeah. Oh boy, I'm loving it.
He still doesn't trust Lyra like at all.
That's a great foundation for a relationship.
Yeah, that's just
it is a very unhealthy crush. Let's move on to talk to Jen and Sarsa. Jen.
Oh, my girl.
Let's go through kind of Sarsa's history. She was in season 2 with Jarek, started in Emberbrook, was running this bar, doing a little bounty work on the side. City burned down, ended up saving the realm of Marcatia.
Mm-hmm.
And then we touched base with her in season 3. She briefly showed up in Popolona to rescue some folks in Giacca, and then rushed off to rescue Jarek's dad from a prison.
Daddy Darkharbour.
Daddy Darkharbour. Ooh. And season 4. Sarsa was in season 4, on the rough half of season 4. That was, I think, about the last time we saw her. So through the course of since the betrayal of the knights and the kind of epic conclusion, the battle at the end of season 4, what do you feel like Sarsa's been up to?
I mean, obviously, we just discussed. So Sarsa kind of just had some personal stuff come up, and had been doing some of the ferrying back and forth with the Crescent Squall, but then kind of abruptly has disappeared. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to like talk about what we discussed, or I think can I just be
Well, I
vague
mean, let's
about it?
cap it at that moment. So I think the notion that for a while she was using the Crescent Squall to like move around and bring a lot of knights to where they needed to be in different missions. So a lot of people probably got to know her, like Chris kind of referenced. So you can talk about kind of like what would happen in that period. And then where we'll kind of stop the backstory is kind of like abruptly she disappeared. And
Yeah,
left
I
the
feel like
Crescent
for her
Squall with
that was
Jarek.
kind of like probably some of the happiest she's ever been, because it was like she got to go around and one of the things that I think Sarsa especially kind of struggles with is wanting like that kind of community and that sense of family. She's got some abandonment stuff going on, and like here she gets the freedom of travel, but like all of these people, and they kind of like her because she's helping them out, and that feeling of like, oh, I have a role here and I'm contributing and like I'm respected, and then her situation kind of changed a little bit, and now she is very much rolling solo again.
Mm-hmm. What do you see in Sarsa's future? The kind of range of options between what would be a happy ending for her, what's the ending she envisions for herself, and anything worse or better or anything in there.
I think for her, like, she is so, I mean, it feels like her and Jarek is kind of like this, they're like two halves of a whole a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is something that, she would want to gravitate towards, but it's kind of like, that's like the kind of relationship I don't think she fully lets herself have sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as like other aspirations, like she's never really been allowed to fully unleash. And that's just me as a player, because I have all these fun AoE like storm spells, and we're always in these like cramped conditions. Or like the one time we were out on open water, it was like I had this storm spell that I couldn't even use at that point. So like I feel like she's kind of never really gotten to fully be unleashed and just kind of so I think for her, like getting to really play that part, I guess, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like for this season, I would like to see a little bit more of her relationship with Saloon, and how she's not really your stereotypical devout anything, but Saloon is kind of a goddess of many hats. If you're familiar, if you look into what she's all about. So like I think it'd be interesting to see.
Research Saloon.
Saloon's all over the place, because it's like the moon, change, marriage, family, chaos. It's all over.
Rice crops.
It's like, so like it's kind of these weird it's almost a walking contradiction, which I feel like Sarsa is under herself a little bit. So, and who knows, maybe she'll stop drinking, maybe she'll drink more. Probably that one.
Sarsa, what would bring Sarsa to stop drinking would be a very interesting line for me.
What would Sarsa be like if she stopped drinking?
Uh-huh.
Dead.
Miserable.
Maybe she'd just be like reading all the time. Maybe she'd be in one of the libraries, just like voraciously gathering up knowledge.
That sounds like a
The
really
most
fun
powerful
character arc.
sorceress in the whole land.
She replaced her like alcohol intake with like learning about magic, and she'd know every spell. And for sure, yeah.
What if she's just like
That's-
super happy? Like
Not gonna
she's blocked it away all this time, but then hey,
As somebody who did give up alcohol for like a little over 9 months, no. No, there was no increase on my happiness.
You heard that, kids.
But also, this is a family
Make sure you
friendly
drink,
podcast. In moderation.
And
My
the
daddy
better.
always told me, he said, whatever you do, just do it on your own terms. And that applies to a lot of things.
So, an opportunity to really let loose with all of her powers. Exploring Saloon. I mean, her separation from Jarek definitely creates an opportunity to like, they are a pair, which the kind of pair that they are is not fully defined even to them. I think like it's for sure like they love each other and are connected, but like what that means is
I
scary
feel
to
like they
both
like
of them. And
yeah. Yeah.
so like her separated from that, just like being separated from like a real relationship where like you're usually always together. Like I feel like that gives her a unique opportunity to like look at herself and kind of explore who she is, what she wants.
Well, and especially like a lot more fun to do AoE when you don't have somebody you care about standing right next to you.
Yeah, tear it up.
Yeah.
So the notion that whatever Sarsa's future is, whatever like conclusion Sarsa had in her future, it has something to do with Jarek, I think is out there for sure.
Or not. Maybe some tall, blonde haired, handsome feller shows up and makes a perfect, was it creme brulee? And he's like, come away
That
with
still
me.
sounds like a pale imitation of Jarek.
All right. That's
If you fall
Bizarro.
for another guy because of his creme brulee, that's definitely because of Jarek.
Is
Whatever the opposite of Jarek is, that's who it is.
is Daddy Derek in? Is Daddy Dark Harbor in a relationship?
Shut up, Matt. We're moving on. All right. Well, no, we're not, because let's open it up. Any kind of thoughts from everybody about Sarsa, things you'd like to explore with her, threads left unwoven?
Most of my questions would be Jarek related, but it seems we're going to find all that out in the campaign, so don't want to press.
Well, not necessarily, because like I'm not going to be like playing Jarek throughout the campaign. So, what are your questions about Sarsa and Jarek?
Sarsa, can you make Zach play Jarek throughout the campaign over and over?
Carlos wants more of that.
More Jarek.
Sarsa Jarek comment.
and
Jarek.
Jarek only so that he'll have to do the sword voice.
The what?
The Javadriel.
Jarek Darkhammer.
That's
There we go.
You're just a conduit for that.
More Javadriel. Alrighty. Other Sarsa related, what we want to see, things to explore.
I think you started to touch on this, Jen, but I would be interested to see just sort of how Sarsa came about in the first place. Like you said, she's an unusual person for a cleric. It would be interesting to see some of her backstory, I guess, beyond what we saw in like the. Actually, did we do a backstory like session?
Yeah, it was
with
on her
her?
ship with her captain. It was
Right.
how her
It was-
captain kind of left and she became the captain of the crew for
That's
a while.
right. Yeah,
But
so-
certainly, like how she fell in specifically with Saloon and her devotion is certainly.
Yeah, because I think with that
point.
she was already Team Saloon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that would be interesting to me.
Any other Sarsa thoughts?
I'll just throw out that in season 5, we found out that her goddess, Saloon, was a direct competitor of the goddess of night, aka Lolth, aka now possibly main antagonist Lady Aranye.
Seems important.
And Saloon is the one that's responsible for making the Luminite, which is the material that they found in the episode with Kali, where they used that material with with Bato, who is the artificer that made the device that allowed Maya to scry over and find who that person was. Lore drop.
Chris, I'm gonna need you to send me a whole like page of
Yeah,
like
I'm
the
writing
threads you were
300
trying to get in there that didn't happen. I want to go to my library. I want to explore the Luminite.
Well, the Luminite already happened. I mean, like you guys did that.
It's out there. There it is.
Yeah.
Saloon's role in that, yes, I think is interesting to explore. Seems like it brings Sarsa to the forefront. Jeff playing
Hey.
XX Bloody Heart. Tell us. So XX Bloody Heart, let's review the adventures of XX, which are complicated. Started in season 1.
Yes.
Was all through season 1 and then got whisked away by Aranye. Didn't become a knight with the rest of them.
Correct.
Tooled around.
Did some teleporting with the XX
did
crew.
some teleporting with the XX crew, working for Aranye, who's recently been revealed as a very, very bad person who's been creating mechanizations of the elites and for a long time, impersonating many gods. So that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
Got sent to find dead Maya's staff Met Carol, zipped all around to a bunch of things, and ended up bringing Maya back from the great tree at the center of all existence. Hung out in season 3, helped take out Drop Off. Got turned into a coat rack after that
the
for a
coat rack,
significant amount
the
of
coat rack
time.
era.
So
A
we need
significant amount of time passed there as a coat rack. Yeah.
XX Bloody Heart might be our character that has participated in every season. I don't know if he didn't participate in season 2. I'm sure he was mentioned at some point, but he's touch based in all of them. In that we found all his stuff in the Red Wizard's chest in season 4. Nobody knew XX Bloody Heart, so it was chill for them. Then we found out that he had been turned into a quote rack by the Red Wizard. Season 5 team freed him. He hung out a little bit, found the dead
Escaped
vampire.
as soon as danger happened in
Kind of like the random homeless guy that was crashing on the couch. And...
Yeah, he's just around. Not really a part of things, but occasionally mutters something important, goes and does a job.
Yeah.
And here we are. He was part of the heist in the one shot. So where do you kind of see XX Bloody, after all of those very strange adventures, where do you feel like XX Bloody Heart is out? There's a lot of emotional stuff in there. He's hopped realms. He was a coat rack for a long time. Where is XX Bloody Heart?
Well, I got to say 6 seasons of this show, and my first stupid joke of making this character has just kept happening. And I felt like I gave some off ramps for him to disappear, to put the joke to bed, and let it move on. But
not going to happen, Jeff. This whole podcast is an intervention about you committing to bits.
Guys, I'm in. I will commit to the bit as long as you let me. You have to physically stop me. Yes, that is a lot to consider and a lot to think about. I will open it to the group. I generally play this game pretty loosey-goosey, and XX doubly so. So I don't have a big plan of an arc or how I think his character should function or how his ultimately will be resolved, that I feel that he pulls in any one direction. So I turn that over to the brain trust to give guidance on what that could be and where that could go from here. I think a lot of it really, so far he's been a very young person. I think he's tried to hold on to some sort of identity, his XX identity, as twere his teenage kind of identity as he started venturing out into this world. And maybe some of this is starting to come back, and maybe some things start to impact him more, and he starts to ground some more serious relationships with people, actually maybe connect and become friends or open up to people in some sort of way might be a thing that he would have to do, but then I would have to perform that, and that's awkward. I don't want to do that.
You just want to have more awkward romances with Chris's characters.
Oh, that's the one thing I love to do. It's so good.
Okay, if I get to play a fetching goth female or something like that XX starts falling in, or maybe not, she's not even goth. It just she's incredibly upper crust and British.
She's the captain of the cheer team.
He's just I would love to see XX completely try to change his demeanor to try to impress somebody. Just he just comes in wearing white in a suit, and
are we gonna go full My Fair Lady this season? Because I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it.
He's just
he
just goes from rogue to paladin. He would be the person that would take a level in something and fully commit to it just to spite.
Okay. I seriously was looking at, because rogues are great, but kind of in this mid, past level 8, there's kind of a dry spell till you start picking up some interesting things toward 17, 18, 19. And I was really considering maybe taking level 11 or 12 in something else, but I couldn't find a way to do it. If you're serious about this, I would take 2 levels of paladin. I would.
I was thinking just fighter, but maybe fighter because fighters have the some cool early abilities in levels 1 and 2, but a particularly kind of fighter like
A dueler,
like Cavalier or
duelist.
something. Like he's like, I'm gonna ride a certain type of steed or something like that. Like he's been
Knight
Guys,
in
I
shining
like
armor
horses
cavalier.
yeah,
they're
or
horse boy,
something
great.
that's I don't know, just like something that's a little bit.
Multi-class
Guys, I met this guy
is-
named Melvin, and he really inspired me.
There you go.
Samurai.
Yeah,
Fighter and rogue mesh very well as a multi-class, but paladin and rogue is the perfect comedic intervention
true.
for XX Bloody Heart for sure.
He
I'll
always
leave it
tries to
open
sound
you.
like Melvin. It's like, I like that guy.
Haha.
He's become a paladin for a girl, but Melvin was the only paladin around, so it's a Melvin
Mhm.
style. Ha ha! Ha ha! Now you're not doing a more
Wow.
from the throat.
He starts off as a
Melvin, teach me your ways.
path of conquest paladin, but when he gets rejected, he becomes an oath of vengeance.
That'd be pretty rad.
Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Oh man, any other XX related thoughts?
I'd love to see some of. I mean, we had this backstory with the XX crew that all got decimated, but I think
Yes.
I think there's a rival gang in Tetrad 7 or 8 or whatever, wherever he's from 3. I think there's another like the WW gang or something like, you know,
Oh
like
no.
there's
yeah.
some sort. I want to see like the rival faction that has taken over, and the XX back in Tetrad is no longer in control, and he has to like, I gotta go reclaim my turf. You know, it's like a street war kind of thing, like more street
Oh.
level. I think it'd be fun to be like, hey, I never ask favors, but I gotta take a crew of knights back to Tetrad to try to like
Reclaim my
reclaim the
turf.
streets. Yeah, and it's this other group of people that that maybe are another street gang of equally as absurd, you know, the GGs.
Dang, the triple dubs.
Or I don't know,
Three
it doesn't have
Ws.
to be letters or whatever, but it should just
Oh, it's the trip dubs. That's it. That's my
I like that. It's
my
more
canon.
letters. so it's better.
WWWs.
Oh, guys, they got more letters. What are we gonna do?
why didn't we think of that?
Their sign, all the 3 W's are connected, so their sign is just a squiggly line. Oh man, I think XX Bloody Heart is such a fun character we've had so much fun with, but like the underlying like core emotion of like who he is and what he's been through is like pretty powerful. Just the notion of like he's obviously got leadership qualities. He keeps finding himself as the like leader of the gang. He was like an orphan and fell in with the XX gang, and they all got killed. And he went and found these friends, kind of ran in with these friends in season 1 that he was connecting to, and then he got kind of yanked away. I think there's even kind of a notion of who he was really didn't say, like, definitely trustworthy knight, kind of like Soot. Like, I don't know if we could really fully make him a knight. He doesn't ring. I mean, he mostly talks about stabbing people. So I think there probably was a sense of like, not quite knight material yet. And he got yanked away. And that kind of continues this notion of like, I don't quite fit in. But he fell in with this awesome crew that almost worshipped him. But he was working for a demon goddess. And then came back to the knights and was made a knight after Popolona. But that just really tells this narrative of like somebody who really wants to belong, but you know,
A lot of being left on base.
yeah, for sure. I think that's gotta like kind of haunt him for sure.
But the levels of paladin will fix that.
Yep, it's gonna clean it all up. Yet to be explored. What do you see in XX's future and his many alternate futures?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I think he's such an undefined character. I think finding what the thing is that's going to either give him a win in something and drive him in some sort of direction might be, you know, the real determining thing. I think he's also ripe for making a sacrifice for the team, or you know, stepping up in some way that's very unexpected, like we were saying, that has that permanent status to it. Yeah, I don't really think maybe 4 cloaks.
I want him to become the group's Gyna. Just sage advice for everyone.
Oh, Guinan?
Yes.
Gynan, whatever, you know, Gyna.
No.
Do we need to cut this from the podcast?
I just
Gyna.
like make him
Getting in
more
from
worthy.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, you said Gyna.
I don't think it was Gyna.
Gynin. There's an N at the end. But the part's important.
You knew who I meant eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
I don't know. Until you said
Yep,
the
I'll
thing
be
about
just
sage
like that.
advice, it was a very different image in my head of what was going on.
Well,
Interesting
at least
thoughts.
that means my joke was funny. It just was poorly delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we've never let a delivery ruin a
You guys,
bad
this is going to
joke
be
on
our
our
best
podcast.
season yet.
Our library season yet.
I'm open to the group. Any last thoughts about XX? Anything you want to see besides the turf war with the trip dubs or
Costume change.
I think he
Costume
should get a
change.
chain wallet.
Yeah, heck yeah. Chainmail wallet.
This is going to be his bondage phase. He's going to ditch the cloaks and just being like...
a costume
Yeah, I
change would be really interesting. What would inspire XX? Much like what would inspire Sarsa to stop drinking, what would inspire XX to be wear different clothes?
the relationship, like if he met someone, a girl or a guy.
I feel like there's a
or
lot of
someone.
relationships this season. Like,
You're getting your wish,
Love
Jen.
in the library.
so much love is in the air.
Well, you know, they got to have something to fight for. I mean, it's noble when you're like, I'm going to fight for the land, but when you actually have other characters that you're like, I want to fight for the future of us being together, it's like
Good raising the
holds-
stakes.
I think that's kind of and for anything, I think I was going to say too, because XX and Gravely have been together since the first season, since Coach and Maya are kind of off doing their thing and whatever. So I think they might have an interesting kind of almost relationship, going back. I'd love to explore that in some way. Having like maybe Gravely's somebody that he can actually open up to, or vice versa.
Definitely having those two characters that have had some history be interesting to explore.
Maybe XX has been carrying a torch for Gravely this whole time.
That would throw things up in the air.
A literal torch?
A lot of outs for the Gravely and Farah relationship if it doesn't work out.
Gravely's a very small person, so he probably would have given his torch supplies to somebody taller like XX.
But like how sometimes
he's literally carrying it.
how sometimes you don't realize you like somebody until you see them with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's that.
What if Gravely is like the nexus point for the soap opera of all the nights, like romance interventions?
When I made Gravely, I did not intend for him to be a romantic conduit of any kind.
I knew from the
He's
first
truly a
time he
romantic
crunched
being.
a carrot, I knew Gravely was going to be...
Tiburon,
everybody's heart
however,
forever.
Tiburon is a very attractive man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tiburon.
Yeah.
Carlos playing Tiburon,
yeah.
who we met in season 3, his first mate and Honey Miss crew.
Tiburon,
Rescued.
yeah.
Rode a shark rescuing Popolona or Giacca in the realm of Popoloma. Joined the team to take out Drop-Off. Was presumably made a knight after that, although it was a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of season 3. Well, it was a cliffhanger at the end of season 3, so we didn't really see who became a knight and what happened to people. So we've since learned that he is kind of hanging out with the knights, but not much else. So Carlos, what do you think has been going on with Tiburon?
Well, to start, I think to your point, Zach, I don't think he did become a knight at first. I think he went back to the Bastion and to Honey Mist and kind of put the adventure sort of like in the back of his head. But maybe after a couple months out at sea with the crew, was sort of feeling the call to adventure. Was sort of feeling like maybe the crew that he had been a part of just didn't feel like his crew anymore, so to speak. Sort of that bubble had been punctured a bit. Sort of when you have your head down for so long and are focused in your endeavor, which as first mate is essentially like running a ship, managing a lot of people, keeping things running. And once that bubble got popped with the adventures that Tiburon participated in, I think it wasn't long before he I don't think Pirates put in 2 weeks notice, but he probably let Captain Honeymiss know that he would be moving on, at which point he got back in contact with the Knights and got himself officially inducted into the Knights.
So that's interesting. Like Chris and Jen and Jeff, I think I defer to you because I feel like you probably would have, in that kind of like aftermath of Giacca, probably would have offered to induct him. So do you think Tiburon said like no at that moment?
Yeah, I think Gravely would have would have definitely said, "Hey, you've earned it. Like you helped save this town," and probably offered, and this, at least initially, and then he was like, "Nah, I'm good," just like left. So I think Gravely would have kept it on the table.
I mean, Carlos, I think that's questions for you. You feel like Tiburon, like having been, if you were offered the knighthood and kind of like they kind of started the ceremony with you, you think Tiburon's reaction was like, "Oh no, no thanks."
I think Tiburon would have been a little intimidated and felt like he had other responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
So his sort of like loyalty and feeling that he would be leaving his crew in the lurch sort of took precedent in that moment, and he probably quietly stepped aside with some of the group and just let him know, like, hey, I'm gonna take off. Thank you for the offer, but we'll see each other when we see each other, but I need
Mm-hmm.
to get back to what I was doing with my life, so to speak. But then after being with it for some time, he still has his little ship in a bottle with peppermint sails. That would always remind him of the old crew, and after some time, I think he would actually end up heading back to the Knights and sort of seeing, maybe this is my new crew, maybe this is the new thing that I'm into, and that sort of curiosity and that sort of breaking of the bubble also is what led him down the road of picking up some spells, trying his hand at having a spell book as a wizard. I don't think there was probably like a particular magic wielder that he like looked up to, and was more just generally impressed with people having the ability to wield magic, both on the side of good and on the side of bad. And so at some point he started diving into the books and then started seeing if he himself could do some of that, which now it seems he can a little bit,
Oh,
Little
not too
bit.
much.
I secretly hope it was Biscuit.
It might have been.
Biscuit probably was probably like, "Hey, I got this great starter book of wizard spells. You want to start about that? Let's get let me here read over this. Let me know which ones you like. I'll come back and we'll do a teleconference and over a sending stone, and I'll help you out."
One shot, Tiburon and Biscuit in the library learning wizard spells.
Let's do it.
Oh,
Let's
well,
do
you
it.
know how
Librarius season yet.
Biscuit's side story is this is almost why I brought Biscuit back, because Biscuit had his own little
has
like,
the
I'm going to
list,
find all
right?
these wizards.
Right.
He has his list. So I think he found out the location in his research doing with stuff with the Knights, but he found out the location of one probably in the ocean somewhere, like on the island. And he's like, "Oh, I know this guy." He's like asking around. He's like, and he found Tiburon was like somebody in the Knights, and he's like, "Hey, can I charter you to take me out to this place to find this wizard?" And they probably had like a little side adventure. One shot.
For it.
I'm totally
Very
into
for it.
that. That'd be great. Tiburon learns his first spell.
Yes.
I think on those lines, I back to Gravely a little bit, but like I think Gravely, the one shot ended with like Gravely kind of like talking to Lyra and Xander about like, could they maybe join the Knights? And the notion was like, they're clearly not Knight material, but like that speaks to me as a little bit of a kind of like a bit of a character flaw in Gravely and wanting to like mentor everybody. That like he's a person who probably shouldn't have the ability to induct people into the Knights, because he's like very willing to see the best in everybody and doesn't necessarily make the best choices.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit of a different path than like, it's really through people exactly like Gravely that people could like sneak into the Knights and have the whole like season 4 debacle. So that's an interesting kind of thing that's out there in terms of he really wants it to work with everybody. He wants to be friendly. He wants to see the best. So Tiburon, like future of Tiburon, what do you see? What's the range of outcomes for Tiburon?
I think part of it is sort of because he's probably flitted around with a bunch of different Knights since coming back, since in essence,
Mhm.
like, that group didn't stay together from season 3. People sort of went off in their own directions and started having their own adventures with different crews. So probably in coming back, there was a little bit of a pang of like missing out, but he would flit around like a bunch of different Knights and meet a bunch of different people, but maybe none of those groups have felt the same. So maybe this season will be about Tiburon seeing if like this group feels like the one that can sort of like make him feel at home again, like in a group of people.
His true crew.
The true crew. Or if maybe the conclusion is that he needs to let go of that part of himself that desires a true crew and embrace sort of the multifacetedness of the entirety of the Knights and essentially become a dirty communist and be all about his fellow travelers. And
I feel
not
like he
hold
and
on.
Sarsa need to like have some drizzinks together.
They already did
I feel
once,
like those
so
two
I'm looking for
haven't,
the
like-
rematch.
That is
Like-
true.
They need more FaceTime, I feel.
Yeah, that is a pairing that could be interesting.
We already did the what was it, the limoncello?
Yep.
Down for round 2 of that for sure.
Maybe that was a relationship that like a one-off relationship that happened and they just never told anybody.
Oh wow! And then Jarek finds out, and then Jarek and Tiburon have to fight, and Jarek's sword taunts at
librarious
Lanes,
season
gives like a
yet.
big monologue for about an hour.
Hey, we were on a break.
Yeah. I mean, there's a celebration. They saved a town together, and
Things got crazy.
well, Sarsa wasn't there, but she might have come back for the celebration. Well, on that note that Carlos brought up, I mean, like during season 5, it did bring up this, like, there were different factions of knights going off, and also in season 4 too, in a certain sense, there were these different small groups of knights that were taking care of all these other elites that were all over, right? I mean, it wasn't just the season 5 crew that was globetrotting. There were other ones that got, that were taking care of smaller and bigger and things like that all over the world. So I think where we're ending up in the bigger end game is there are less and less elites, but the ones that are left are the ones that have been amassing power by eliminating other elites, or because the knights have gotten stuff, the elites have sort of absorbed. It's like Highlander. It's like there can be only one at the end, right? I think Tiburon would definitely like fall into that, like, yeah, I'll help out, kind of thing. And I'm secretly hoping for more interaction with aquatic life of riding things and or just animals in general. I think that was just such a fun moment. But
Is Tiburon our Aquaman?
Yeah, Tiburon will
Pretty much.
handle the
Yeah,
water
100%.
animals, and Branch
Does
will
he have
handle
like
the other
orange
animals.
and green spandex?
I see Branch calling forth something and Tiburon like riding it with one hand. Just
That would be amazing.
or Branch becoming something because he can turn into an animal, and then they just have this like, fastball special thing like Wolverine and Colossus, and it's like, let's do this thing that we practiced, and then
I can be
Branch
a giant
becoming,
walrus now. You can
he
ride a
becomes
giant walrus.
Yeah,
Ride
and
the
then-
walrus, baby.
Known for their speed.
I think one of its moves is like body flop or something like that.
Mhm.
Formidable.
I don't know if that's the. I mean, maybe
That's
it is.
Pokemon level nonsense.
Oh, it was something as ridiculous as that.
All right. Any other thoughts from the group on things you'd like to explore with Tiburon? He's our most unexplored character. Kind of bring him back.
That's true.
We've only saw him for even part of season 3 in a one shot. So, any thoughts about Tiburon? What we want to see?
I just like want
Costume
more of
change.
him. Like yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I want to. No, but like I feel like I want to push him more like into the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely interested in exploring Tiburon as wizard. Like, I just think that dynamic is really interesting. I am very I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
I hope it lives up to your expectations.
Costume change.
Also, costume change, codpiece all the time now.
Uh-huh. I'm thinking very like
Redraw all the characters. Chris.
I'm really going to. I barely got to draw new characters from season 5, and I'm already committing myself to redraw everybody and new outfits and new haircuts and everything like that.
Souped up versions.
What does Sarsa look like now? What's her? Does she have like short hair or like a shaved side head or
Ooh, I miss my
new
little
tattoos?
undercut.
She's pink.
Bright pink. No, I do like the idea of like maybe let's give her an undercut. That'd be fun.
Okay.
She's probably going like because before she had very kind of piratey like coat
Mhm.
and stuff, but now she's kind of going incognito. So I see her in like more like traveler wear that's a little more generic. Still showing off the guns because it's her,
Yeah,
but like I see her in like a brown, like think Princess Leia on Endor. That's kind of what I see.
gotcha. Yeah,
She's
travel
in
travel
travel wear.
vest, utility vest.
Yeah, but also like kind of like ooh, utility vest. Yeah, dope.
Wait,
Have
like
fun.
Rebel Alliance Endor with the helmet, or like Ewok Endor with the pretty dress?
No, more. I well, with she obviously she doesn't have a helmet, but like you know that little like camo cape thing that she's got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I imagine her in
Uniform
something like
Endor.
that. Like
yeah,
she's
yeah.
as much as like you know a bright red haired tiefling can blend in.
Right.
She's definitely more lying low and like probably in earth tones because she's not. Even though she is frequenting the occasional inn, she's definitely more like off the beaten path.
I'm gonna give XX some bright white gleaming armor. Well, I guess we'll find out.
I'm updating the character sheet now.
Wait for
Yep,
it.
He's
yep.
basically going to be Moon Knight.
Yeah, or maybe it's gold, or just something like it's just light pink salmon.
Something really
colors.
tacky is what I see him in.
Yes. XX Gleaming
blue.
Valor.
like blue and orange.
Yeah, like a
Teal
powder
and
blue
orange.
tux, like that kind of thing.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Frills.
Yeah, Branch.
Yeah, Matt, let's talk about Branch.
Yeah.
Branch we met in season 3, stranded on the island, rescued him, re-stranded him on the island for a little bit, which woke up into a giant turtle god level beast, and he rejoined for the finale. Then he was all throughout season 4 with the Jarek, Sarsa, Delith Carver crew. So where's Branch at today?
I think what he's probably would have been up to is looking after. Let me put that in a different way. I think the reason that Branch wanted to join up with the Knights in the first place is sort of twofold. I think one, he was a little lonely. As much of an introvert as he is, I think getting to see like these people and like they were actually nice to him, like Gravely was nice. I remember, in particular, like I think that kind of thing drew him to it. So he wants to. So he's been hanging out with folks, but I think also he, is clearly drawn to nature. So I'm thinking he's probably joining up with some of the other naturey knights, Theo, Melbourne, whoever, and like putting together like a nature preserve type thing or something. Like doing more of the like focusing on like saving the animals.
One shot nature nights.
Nature knights.
Mm.
Love it. But I definitely
We're
see
gonna
him.
save the endangered walrus.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just trying to create just like a nature preserve, and everything goes wrong.
Yeah. We bought a zoo.
Or they're like they're collecting monstrosities. They've gone through and convinced knights on their various adventures not to kill that hideous monster, and they're trying to create the nature preserve to keep them happy. Done and done.
Definitely trying to make sure that he sees all of the different up to CR4 beasts so that he can
Become them.
Yeah. Let's go find some dinosaurs, guys.
Not that big. Smaller than that. Yes, this one.
Perfect.
I'm just gonna stare at this one for a while.
Yeah. I think if there were some sort of consequences to nature by one or more of the elites, right? Like if some of their nefarious schemes ended up impacting that, I see him having been drawn to that kind of thing. Maybe even with Tiburon, if they were going after sea creatures, right? Like I could see some things going on there. Maybe he ran into Sarsa in the woods, whatever. But that's sort of like what I think he's been up to is that general stuff. I think he's been interacting with humans more. It probably recognizes that there's more than one species of non-goblin out there.
Interesting.
He did start to stop speaking like that in the last couple of appearances he's shown up in, more by accident. But I was like, hey, maybe that's just something that's happened to him. But he's definitely still got that being drawn back towards nature. So he's got that dichotomy of like, I want to be with people, but leave me alone.
So he's coming along. I think that's an interesting kind of fun angle. The notion that he's coming along, getting to know civilization a little bit more, recognizing there's variations of human. I think the notion of Branch actually trying to fit in a little bit and trying to make waves is probably, there's fun there. He's trying to make small talk and things.
Yeah. Hey, how about the trees? Trees are neat. If you want a costume change, then maybe he's dressing more like a person and less like a wood hermit. Maybe not. I don't know. That's about all the thought I put into like what he's been up to. I have some ideas about what he might get up to, or what some things might be interesting that he could do. But
Sure. What might he get up to?
I think the main thing I would be most interested in seeing him like have to deal with is other goblins. We got a little bit of that with the goblin ship at the end of season 3, I think, whichever one Soot ended up with.
Was that? But that was him. That was a Soot, right?
Yeah, but I think Branch saw it. I don't think he necessarily interacted with it. But I was like, that could have been interesting to see.
They dropped him off.
Yeah,
and then your flashback too.
Yes. So like
Epic flashback.
Yeah, interacting more with other goblins, either like normal goblins, right? Like maybe even the crew he used to, his old tribe that kicked him out, or maybe there's some like-minded goblins out there that aren't like your typical goblins, and maybe he gets to meet up with those and find some like-minded folk. I don't know.
I mean, there's also goblins also run in the tiered circles if we're going with lore, or we don't have to. But like, there's hobgoblins, which are more military, which we haven't really had any.
Yep.
We've only had one character that's a hobgoblin, which was in the one shot in the prison, who was like a mercenary for Narsendrell, believe it or not.
What?
He was a. And
everybody re-listen to Demon Spine right now, and also Branch's bio episode, because it's amazing.
And also bugbears are goblinoids, and we've had some bugbears in season 2.
Yeah, I definitely see there being some interesting stuff for him there, like how he would react, especially as he's become more integrated into like a society that's not goblin. Like he left them to go be like off in the woods by himself, and now he's hanging out with humans, and that would be interesting to see how he interacts.
I'm hearing we need more cooking competitions.
Yes. I think there's a goblin or a higher goblin lord that's an elite that I think would be really interesting to try to use Branch as an in to infiltrate the knights, or like make some sort of truce or something like that. But I think it'd be interesting to see. Like goblins are usually very high, low level enemies, and I think like a higher level goblinoid, goblin king or goblin shaman or something like that would be really interesting to be like, oh, this goblin is very powerful with nature, and maybe I do want to join this goblin thing or something. But
yeah, ooh, dark side.
I think
that's about as much thought as I've given to it. I'm open to ideas. I like a lot of the stuff Chris just said.
Costume change,
little suit.
He just wears a little tie that's only like 2 inches long because he's got his belt really high or something.
What Branch would put on trying to blend in instead of just like covering himself up with the hood, trying to actually like blend in with society is definitely like, I want to explore that. Shoes.
I think that Branch and XX will make an unlikely pair, but maybe there'll be more of a connection there than XX will expect, because maybe there's a little more similarities there than we think at first blush.
Some loners.
Wow.
I think I would love to see Branch have some sort of 2 things. Because of Gravely, and they're both small and green and and kind of a species that is often like, I think it'd be funny to just be like, we're gonna own it and have a night on the town.
Boys night out.
Yeah, the small brothers or whatever, and like we'll be fine. Like the 3 humanoids that are taller and good looking are gonna hang out together, and we're like, well, it's only for humanoids and not for goblins and
no
orcs
humans allowed.
So we're like,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
bars and
we're gonna go to like a small people club or bar or something like that.
Yeah.
That's only goblins and orcs and halflings. Yeah,
the
it's
ceiling
very
is 6
small.
foot up.
There's
Kobolds.
and that's where we run into Yenny, because she happens to be there, and then like
Sure.
all the small folks hanging out. I know that Branch definitely
All
felt an
the
affinity.
small folks drinking, eating.
I know that Branch definitely had an
Egg
affinity
yolks.
for felt an affinity for Gravely for exactly the reasons that you mentioned. So that that would be interesting to see them interact more as well. I would like
Could
that.
be. I also, just for some reason, I see Branch. I love the idea of small druids having a big familiar or a big like companion animal, and because he had a dragon turtle, I just see him having as like either a conjured animal that's like
Let's
bear
go
or
bigger.
rhino or hippo or owl bear or something like that. Not, but or something that's like he can turn into it, or he has it, or it comes up every once in a while as just like this huge whatever, like don't mess with me animal.
I would love if he had like a familiar that just an animal familiar that hung out of Rebecca, but more. That would definitely be cool. I do have. I think with his new spells, he does have some more conjuration things that he can do. So there could be some fun things there. We're gonna make Zach's life difficult. Just conjure everything.
Look, I think with Theo played out the conjuration card. It was fun.
Done.
Nope.
End
I've
of
got conjure
conjuration.
spells
No
in
more.
level 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
That just means you have to beef up the big bad evil guys just to
Yes.
like.
It's the big baddie and also 17 of his friends. Bring it. Bring your giant weasels and frogs.
We just turned Dungeons and Dragons into a real-time strategy game.
It's just Pokemon.
The notion of like having all these conjuration spells and like using them out of combat just for friends.
Yeah.
Just like calling up your 8 giant frogs to hang out with,
Hello,
make camp
Teddy.
with, make a little pyramid.
So
And as we have learned from the last of them, it's the same ones each time. When you summon a panther or a moose, it's the same one
Yeah,
that comes.
and they
in.
remember
yeah.
what happened
I do
last
like
time.
That's
that.
established. That's canon. Yeah.
When did we
that's
establish that?
Last season.
With which
Yeah,
characters?
with Theo.
With all of Theo's friends. He knew all of them.
Oh,
They
he
were
knew their
already
names
friends.
always because they are. You're saying
Yeah.
he knew their names because
were the
they
same
had
one.
previously established relationships.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
Gnarls
for sure.
Barky.
Yeah.
I remember all the wolves.
Pixie, Trixie, Nixie, Dixie,
Yeah.
Steve.
Other things to throw out there for Zach to consider, since we do have a established big bad Uber boss possibly in Lady Ranye. I think some playing around just to be like, well, what's to prevent them from just going straight there, right? So like maybe there are these under generals that she has, and who would they be? Is it Claus? Is it is it somebody Feywildian that are
Oh, I forgot
that's
about
like
claws.
basically they have to. Yeah,
David Claus.
David Claus.
David Claus. Yeah. David Claus could make a comeback. I mean, like maybe there's a sprite that did not get along with black pepper and cardamom, and the other one's like a sort of dark
cilantro.
and general pepper or general salt or whatever. Like a
Dr.
dark
Pepper.
Feywild crew, I think would be really fun. Or just like, who are the generals now that XX has left? She was clearly kind of grooming him to be like a lieutenant or whatever, and now that she has kind of an end game, it would be interesting to see like who are the people that she's like, go and get these people, or that sort of thing.
Other hanging threads you feel like you definitely dropped a lot of lore into season 5 that we haven't fully unpacked. Chris, are there other things you'd like to pursue?
I mean, other big thing about other than the overall backstory lore with the knights, knights of the past, and faults, that things that they were not able to accomplish, and maybe the falling out of the knights is interesting to me. I unwittingly, not intentionally, but kind of got into the god thing because I had an idea about Aranye from the beginning, but I was like, well, and then I knew that the city that they were in was very god heavy, and the main villain was an arch cleric, so I feel like playing with the gods thing is, we kind of did that, but I think it would be kind of fun to play out, to since the world map was released, and now we kind of have like, here's the world. You have some other areas of the world that we haven't played in, and since we've kind of dipped into different sections, there are some places that we haven't dipped in. There were some places that were teased in the world.
This is not thread related or anything like that, but and I think it was kind of touched on earlier, the idea of the possibility of more of like an urban landscape and time in like cities and towns and stuff. But like, I think that would be super fun. Like, I kind of enjoyed like a little bit of political intrigue or like powerful families or, or warring pie shops. I don't know. But I like the idea of like something that's a little like an environment that's a little more established.
Petra's pocket.
You guys, I had a whole like plot figured out for season 6, but I feel like we need to really explore the library angle. We got to get into the delivery service competition economy, and this whole pie shop war is definitely intriguing me. So I feel like I'm just going to throw out what I was thinking, and we're just
Why did you come into this with
into...
actual ideas, Zach? That was your first. That was your first.
That's gotta stay open, gotta stay loose.
The location of the library that I mentioned is in Chesquin. It's an island. Well, it's kind of a peninsula archipelago kind of thing above Boulder Bell, above the United Kings, and it's a sort of a frigid Iceland kind of place. But there's a nice library.
Very nice, worth visiting.
There's also a nefarious sounding and not very visited place called Drazan, which has a pretty much burnt. It's basically an island, a big area of land of volcanoes and such, and no one really goes there because it's apparently populated with lots of dragons and dragon folk and dragon people, and it's very dangerous and hot and miserable. And there's an area near Valosia that's connected to Valos towards the bottom of the map that's called the Missing Mists, and no one that goes there comes back. And there's also Tetrod, the Tetrod Island.
Gotta get the Tetrod, you guys.
Tetrod, baby!
We've barely scratched the surface of Tetrod and all its... We said there was 13 Tetrods, but one of them was named, like, Westchester or something. Do you remember what the other Tetrod was?
New Haven. It was like New Haven or something.
Yeah.
I think we gotta bring back the greatest villain the Knights have ever known. We gotta stop that Sozeb.
Sozeb is still out there.
He's still out there.
Sozeb.
Still dangerous.
He's still out there.
He's joined up with elongated muskrat, and they're going to
secretly. I would like you could play around with the Voop to Do, who became the evil mind flayer that combined animals together, and secretly I would love to have them run into some sort of elevated animal that got away or never got captured or something, and they just run into. I mean, they're still out there in the world, and maybe they've got out of Marcatia or something. So like some sort of higher power combined homebrew animal or creature or monster or something. I think that could be fun to play around with. Just throwing it out there.
Giant snake doodle.
Snake doodle. There was a mind flayer wyvern that I created, but we never fought. That was like
the Mindvern.
Yeah, something. It was basically a wyvern with a bunch of tentacles on his face, like they was gonna like fly down and try to like.
That's horrible.
When was that supposed to happen?
It was supposed to be an animal that attacked while you guys were in the city, but it just, as you know, I liked the concept of giving boons in some fun way. In season 2 it was like, hey, let's go on a quest to find these items, and in season 5 I literally had a character named Boone who gave dumb boons. So I think Zach could challenge himself. I challenge you to figure out a fun way to be like, is it like Adventure Zone had Fantasy Costco, and like what is the fun way that we find items that are like fun little temporary things, or like we've had creatures that sting people and they give something an ability, like the Chawungas, like little things that you get something that's like it's a power that you don't normally have, or some sort of thing. Like I those are always fun.
I hear you. And I see you. Was just listening to when at some point Igneous got point. I think it was towards the end of the season when he really needed like something to step things up. He became like a mood ring where he would change color based on mood, and that was it. Great, thank you.
The Igneous moment of when he and Lucky had his hot cold like power grab that was oddly
The fisting incident.
God, don't say it. I was trying to avoid that word. But and it became a thing, and it was cool because you took that and like really you didn't just let go of it. You were in the final fight, you definitely had moments where you're like, I'm going to hit him with the cold hand, and I'm going to hit him with this. And it's like, that was fun just to see like how that came to fruition. And like when Coach in season 2 would, turned into the different animals with the mace of switching, it was fun just to see those moments like where you have this item that's like, aha.
Yeah, if you get an ability, whether it's useful or not, like the challenge is immediately like, I have to find an interesting way to use this before it goes away. Yes. And those are definitely fun moments.
I want Gravely to come up with more trick arrows.
I do like coming across magic items or upgrades or whatever. Like, it's always fun to have like non-leveling up for your characters. So boons, whatever. Definitely fun.
Yeah, I want Gravely to go on the black market and or pair up with an artificer like a Carver and or Biscuit or somebody, just to get all these like different arrows that are extremely rare and they only use once, but like maybe I have different arrows that have like single spells or something like that. I think that's something he would probably seek out as an archer. Like, I'm gonna up my ranger game and like get these cool ranger spells.
That's interesting to think about.
But also as a support character, he would probably look for spells that enhance other people. Like it'd be like an arrow that doesn't necessarily gets shot into one of his teammates, but like maybe it if it gets within a certain range or something, it could give somebody haste, or it would like a support spell, like a additional spell, like enlarge or enhance or something like, or reduce enlarge.
I'm thinking in context of like, I've got all of these arrows that do incredible damage, and this one arrow I have to shoot into somebody and it gives them haste. Hey, you stand still. Don't stop moving around. Trust me, this is the right one.
Well, it kind of gives the, like, do I enhance somebody else with one of my arrows? Or also maybe like, you got a bunch of arrows, but I have to roll to see if I actually picked the right one. It's like roll for random arrow. Like, I don't know what this does. Like all the labels have fallen off. And so I'm like, I don't know what it does.
You accidentally haste the bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, that could be fun too.
Nice. All right. I like it.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Gonna be fun.
I'd love to bring back David to DM another battle royale at some point. If not, maybe he could run one of the one-shot kind of things, because that was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I'm excited, everybody. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to an exciting season 6 and revisiting all of our friends and allies and enemies and maybe Mind Flayer wyverns and whatever comes up. Thanks, you all.
Yay! Let's do it.
Looking forward to it.
Now go out
and make life
an adventure.